There is a steak lying on the butcher block in Emma's kitchen right now that is bigger than both of my hands put together, close to 3 pounds of ribeye on a bone as long as my forearm. The English, that's our non-Amish neighbors, call this cut a tomahawk. A steakhouse over in Columbus will carve you this exact steak at your table for $130, sometimes $150. My butcher here in Holmes County sells the same steak for about $65, and the difference between those two numbers is nothing but charcoal, salt, and patience. But most folks who bring a tomahawk home ruin it the same way. They lay a 2-inch thick steak over a roaring bed of coals, burn the outside black, and 20 minutes later they are sawing into a cold purple middle. Today I am going to show you how we grill one the Amish way, on a plain charcoal kettle grill, slow fire first and hot fire last. And stay with me all the way to the end, because the most important part of this whole steak happens after it comes off the fire, while you are standing there doing nothing at all. There is a number I am going to give you, and what goes on inside that meat during those last 10 minutes is the difference between a steak that carves like soft butter and one that bleeds out all over your cutting board. I'm Elias Miller. I'm 58 years old, I'm Old Order Amish, and I was born and raised in Holmes County, Ohio, the largest Amish settlement in the world. Every November of my boyhood, we butchered our own beef, and my daddy, my grandfather, taught me that the cooking matters just as much as the raising. Emma and I fed 7 children and 19 grandchildren on meat cooked over coals and wood, and we never once carried debt doing it. Our son Mose runs the dairy now, so I keep the garden, the bees, and the smokehouse, and I finally have time to show you how it's done. Now let me take the fear out of this steak, because there is nothing here to be afraid of. A tomahawk is a ribeye with the rib bone left long, and not one thing more. The butcher scrapes that bone clean so it looks like an axe handle, and then he charges a little extra for the handle. Underneath, it is the same ribeye your father cooked. What changes everything is the thickness. This steak stands 2 full inches tall, and 2 inches is where the usual way of grilling falls apart. The way most folks learned, you get the whole grill roaring hot and lay the meat right over the flames. On a thin steak, that works fine. On a steak this thick, the outside is finished in 4 minutes while the middle still needs 40. So you end up choosing between burnt and raw because the fire was built wrong before the meat ever touched it. The old way fixes the fire first. You build 2 fires inside one grill, a slow one and a hot one, and the steak visits each in the proper order. I will give you the coal counts and every temperature as we go. And keep that number I mentioned in the back of your mind, the one that does its work after the fire is finished, because every step today is building toward it. Now before we strike a single match, let me tell you where this method lives. Everything I teach on this channel, Emma and I wrote down in a manual called Save $7,000 a Year, the Amish Country Manual. It is the plain methods our families have run for generations, covering the pantry, the garden, and the smokehouse that feed a family, keeping the house warm without the big bills, and keeping things running instead of replacing them. All of it is written step by step, with the materials and the dollar amounts, so a regular family can cut up to $7,000 a year off the bills without becoming Amish. It costs $17, marked down from $47, and $17 is less than the tip on that steakhouse tomahawk. You don't have to become Amish, you just have to keep your money like one. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. All right, let's start where your steak will start, at the butcher's counter. Walk up to the counter and ask for a Tomahawk ribeye, 2 to 2.5 inches thick, somewhere around 3 pounds. If there isn't one in the case, ask anyway, because any butcher with a saw can cut you one in 5 minutes. Now look at the meat before you pay. You want thin white threads of fat running all through the red, like frost on a window pane. That fat melts as the steak cooks and bastes the meat from the inside, where no brush can reach. Expect to pay $60 to $70, and remember, a steak this size feeds 3 or 4 people at the table, which turns out cheaper per plate than a sack of hamburgers from town. Once that steak is home, the real work starts the night before you ever light a coal. Here is the overnight step, and it is the one folks skip. The night before, take the steak out of its paper. Pat it dry with a clean towel. Emma keeps one towel just for meat, and I would advise the same. Now sprinkle coarse salt over every side of that steak. Use about 1 teaspoon of salt for every pound. That is 1 teaspoon per pound, so 3 teaspoons for a 3-pound steak, and coarse salt, not the fine shaker salt. Set the steak on a wire rack over a plate. Slide it into the refrigerator uncovered, with no wrap on it at all. I know that sounds wrong, so let me tell you what is happening in there. In the first hour, the salt pulls the juice up out of the meat, and the steak looks wet and weeping. But overnight, that juice dissolves the salt and travels right back down deep into the meat, carrying the seasoning with it, while the surface dries out into the perfect skin for a crust. The salt does in one night what no last-minute shake ever could. In the morning, take the steak out 1 full hour before you cook and let it sit on the counter. So, to gather that up, salt the night before, uncovered in the refrigerator and out on the counter 1 hour before the fire. Now we build the 2 fires, and we start with what we don't use. We don't use lighter fluid because we don't pour fuel oil on our dinner. Set 2 sheets of crumpled newspaper under a charcoal chimney out by the grill. Fill that chimney about half full of coals, which comes to 50 or 60 briquettes. That is 50 or 60, about half a chimney, no more. Light the paper and give it 15 minutes until the top coals show gray at their edges. Now pour every last coal onto one side of the grill. The other side of the grill stays completely empty. That empty side is your slow fire, and I know that sounds backwards, but the heat drifts across under the lid the way warmth from a wood stove crosses a room. Set the grate on. Put the lid on. Open the bottom vent halfway. Open the top vent halfway and turn the lid so the top vent sits over the empty side. You are aiming for 250 degrees inside that grill, the heat of a slow oven. 250, and the vents are how you steer it. And here is the one store-bought tool I will ever tell you to buy, a probe meat thermometer, about $15 at the hardware store. My Dottie could read a steak with his thumb. I read mine with the $15 thermometer, because the thermometer has never once had a bad day. Now the steak meets the slow fire. Grind black pepper over every side of the steak. Lay it on the empty side of the grate, with the bone pointing at the coals. The bone takes the fierce heat like a shield, so the meat doesn't have to. Put the lid back on with the vent over the meat, so the coal smoke drifts across it on the way out. Now leave it alone for 20 minutes. Go weed a row of beans because the grill does not need company. At 20 minutes, flip the steak once. Around the 40-minute mark, start checking it, with the probe pushed into the thickest part and not touching bone. The number you want is 115 degrees. 115, not 125, not 135. Depending on the wind and the steak, that takes 45 minutes to an hour, and there is no rushing it. A thing worth doing is worth doing slow. Now hold on to that 115, because 115 is not the finished steak. The finished number arrives later, with the fire out of the picture entirely. And when I show you what happens in between, this whole method will snap together like a barn frame. At 115 degrees, take the steak off and set it on a clean plate for a few minutes while you wake the fire up. Open every vent on that grill wide, top and bottom. Rake the coals into one tight level bed with a fire poker. If the pile looks tired, toss 10 fresh coals on top. Give it 10 minutes until they glow orange under their gray ash. The old hand test still works, so hold your palm above the grate, and if you can't keep it there past a count of 2, the fire is ready. Lay the steak directly over the coals. Give it 90 seconds on the first side. Flip it with tongs, never a fork. Give it 90 seconds on the second side. If the crust wants more color, go once more around, but twice around is the limit. Fat will drip and flames will jump, and don't you panic, because flames lick, they don't cook. Just slide the steak to the edge of the coals for a moment and come back. At the end, stand the steak up on its fat edge with the tongs and hold it there for 30 seconds. Then, lay a big spoon of Emma's butter right on top and let it melt down through that dark crust. And that brings us to the part I promised you at the very start. Carry that steak to a wooden cutting board on the porch table, set it down, and do not touch a knife. 10 minutes. 10 full minutes of doing absolutely nothing. And here is why those are the most important minutes of the whole day. Right now, the outside of that steak is north of 300 degrees, while the center sits near 120. Heat does not stop moving when the fire stops. It keeps walking inward, the way a barn wall stays warm long after sundown. And over those 10 minutes, the center climbs on its own, from 120 to right around 130 degrees. 130 is a rosy medium, rare from edge to edge, and that is the number I promised you. We pulled at 115 so the sear and the rest could finish the job without ever going past it. And there's a second thing happening on that board. All through the cooking, the heat squeezes the meat fibers tight, like hands wringing a wet rag, and pushes the juice toward the middle. Cut it now and that juice floods the board, and every slice after eats dry. Wait the 10 minutes, and the fibers relax and drink that juice back through the whole steak. The steak finishes cooking after the cooking is done. Now carve. Run your knife along the bone to free the meat in one piece. Slice it across the grain, about 1/2 inch thick. Fan the slices out on the board and scatter a pinch of coarse salt over them. At our table, the bone goes to whichever grandchild reaches it first, and I'm told it is worth the foot race. $65 at the butcher, 1 bag of charcoal, and you just set down a steak. The city steakhouse charges $134. That right there is the arithmetic Emma and I built the whole manual on. Save $7,000 a year. The Amish Country Manual runs that same arithmetic through the entire house. The heat, the water, the pantry, the garden, the animals, all written out plain with the materials and the dollar amounts. It is $17, marked down from $47, set against bills that come back every single month. The steak was the lesson. The manual is the whole library. Now go ahead and grab your phone and open up your camera, the same one you use to take pictures. Point it at that square code on your screen and hold it steady for a second. A little link will pop up, give it a tap, and it will take you straight to the book. And if you are watching on your phone right now, the link is waiting for you right down below in the description. Take your time. There is no rush at all. I'll wait right here. So, once more around the barn. Salt the night before. Slow fire to 115, hot fire for the crust, and 10 still minutes on the board. Tell me in the comments, did your grandparents do it this way too? Maybe a fall butchering day, maybe a daddy who guarded the grill like a bank vault. I'd surely like to hear it, and I read every single one. Next time, Lord willing, I'm taking you into the smokehouse to show you how we turn a plain pork belly into months of breakfast bacon for about half of what the store charges. And there is one thing the old-timers did with the salt in the very first hour that no package from the store will ever tell you about. The old ways still work, friends. Use them well, and God keep you till next time.